This lesson is on dimensional analysis, and this is a calculation that can be used when we're converting units that are not part of the metric system. So we just practiced how to go from centimeters to meters, kilograms to grams, where you're just moving the decimal places. Sometimes we have units that aren't all metric, so we can't convert them that way. Maybe something's measured in centimeters and it has to be converted to feet, or something was measured in pounds and we need it in grams. So we can't just move the decimal. We have to do some other steps. So just to get us kind of started, get the idea of what dimensional analysis is, take just a second and think about what shape should be in the box for question number 1. All right, so if you're thinking yellow triangle, you would be correct. And so how do we know that? We know that whatever's on top of a fraction, right, if that same thing is on the bottom, then they're going to cancel out. So our circles cancel out, our blue squares cancel out, so all we're left with is the triangle. Okay, so take just a minute, think about question number 2. What shape do you think should be in the box? All right, so let's work through this one. I have a red stop sign, octagon on top, and I have a red stop sign on the bottom. So I know those are going to cancel out. And then I have a green star on the bottom and a green star on the top, so I know those cancel out. So what I'm left with is a heart and a lightning bolt, because they did not get canceled out. Okay, let's look at this one. Let's look at we're going to kind of skip over number 3 because that's the same as what we did. But let's look at number 4. Can you decide what should be in this box here? All right, so it should be the ring, if you guessed the ring. So we know that we're left with the smiley face, right? So that means everything else had to cancel out, so that we were only left with a smiley face. I know the blue squares cancel, so I need to make sure that this ring is going to cancel out, and the way I do that is to put a ring at the bottom. So when we're converting our units, that's all we're doing. If I started with a blue square and I wanted to end up with a smiley face, then I just needed to make sure that I canceled it out by putting it on the bottom. So we're going to do the same thing with some practice problems. These are not on your notes, so you're welcome to watch and just kind of follow along. I suggest you write at least a couple of them down in your notebook. So this, on the page that you'll glue this assignment in, you know how we glue it in so you can flip it up, then you can just write some of these down as I do on your notebook paper. So first, let's look and see what we have. So this one is number 1, okay, and it says how many yards are in 3,260 inches. Okay, so I'm starting with 3,260 inches. I always want to start with writing down what I'm given, right? That's what I'm starting with. And then I want to turn it into yards. So let's see if we can do that. Over here, I have what we call conversion factors. I have inches to feet, and then I have feet to yards. So I can't just move my decimal, right? But I can think about my shapes, and if I can just get my units to cancel out like I got the shapes to cancel out, then I can convert to yards. So let's think, okay, if I have inches on the top and I want to get it to cancel out, that means I have to put inches on the bottom. And if I look over here, I know that 12 inches are equal to 1 foot. So whatever's on top and the bottom has to be equal to each other. Okay, that's our conversion factor. So now I've canceled out my inches and I'm left with feet, right? So I still need to get to yards. So if I have feet on the top, I know I have to put feet on the bottom. And now I know that there's 3 feet in 1 yard. So my feet are canceled out, and now I'm left with yards as my only unit. Okay, so now all I have to do to get my answer is just solve the math problem. Okay, so remember, we're multiplying all these together. Okay, and then any number that's on the bottom, we're going to divide, right? Because if it's underneath the line, that means we divide. So in my calculator, I'm going to say 3,260 times 1 times 1. That gives me 3,260. And then I'm going to divide it by everything underneath. Okay, so I'm going to divide it. Let me rewrite this. I'm going to divide it by 12, and I'm going to divide it by 3. Because both those numbers are under the line, so I have to divide. So my final answer is 90.5. Okay, and you may be asking, what do I need to round to, right? The answer on the test is going to be how many significant figures are in our number here, okay? So if you want to start practicing that, that's fine. My goal today is that you can set up the problem and get an answer. If you can't quite get that answer in significant figures, that's fine. We'll still keep practicing that over the next couple of days, okay? So let's look at the next question. 20 yards, and I want to go to meters. So the first thing I'm going to do is write down 20 yards, and then I need to look and see, okay, how am I going to get to meters? So I'm starting with yards, so I can go to feet, and then I look at feet can go to inches, inches can go to centimeters, and centimeters can go to meters. So this is going to have a couple of different steps, but we're still going to follow the same rules every time. So if yards are on the top, I need yards on the bottom. So that means I have to use this one first. 1 yard is 3 feet. My yards are canceled out. Feet are on the top, feet are on the bottom. 1 foot, 12 inches. My feet are canceled out. Now I have inches on the top, so I have to put inches on the bottom. 1 inch, 2.54 centimeters. Whoops. My inches cancel out. I have centimeters. Oh no, it's going to barely fit. 100 centimeters on the bottom, 1 meter on the top. Okay, so again, in my calculator, I want to multiply all the numbers on the top and divide by all the numbers on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to start 20 times 3 times 12 times 2.54. That gives me 1828.8. Okay, and then what number's on the bottom? I know I have a 1, a 1, a 1, right? And then I have 100. So the ones I can ignore because that's not going to change anything if I divide by 1. But I do have 100 on the bottom that I need to divide by. So I get 18.288. Okay, something like that. And this would be meters. All right, let's look at just a couple more. So let's look at number 3. How many minutes are in 210 seconds? So again, I want to start with what I'm given, 210 seconds, and I want to see how can I get to minutes. So I'm going to look down here at all my conversion factors, and I want to find one that has seconds on it. And here's seconds, and then it looks like I can go straight to minutes. So times 60 seconds and 1 minute. So my seconds are canceled out. I have minutes, which is what I want. So now I can multiply the numbers on the top, which is 210 times 1. That just gives me 210. And then I need to divide by the numbers on the bottom. So divide by 60. So I get 3.5 minutes. Okay. One way that you're going to see these calculations commonly set up is by something that we call train tracks. So let me show you what those look like real quick. Because in your next little practice website you're going to see them set up this way. So you could see how each time, I had 3,260 times 1 over 12 times 1 over 3. Sometimes that just gets to be writing a lot, and so kind of a shortcut way to see it written is to see it set up like this. So this little point, this is where you're multiplying, right? Your next, you're kind of putting each number in its own little box, and then you're still multiplying the top. So everything across the top, you're still multiplying, and you're still multiplying or dividing by everything on the bottom. It's just kind of a faster way to set up the problem. So here again, I can see, oh, I drew out my line, right? Each number set kind of goes in each box. I'm still going to multiply everything out. I'm still going to divide by everything on the bottom. Okay, so let's see if we can set this one up using that same method. Okay, so I'm always going to start with what I'm given, 320 centimeters, right? And I want to change it to inches. So I'm going to just draw my line, draw up and down. So if I have centimeters on the top, I know I need centimeters on the bottom. So let's see what we have in centimeters. Here's a centimeter and here's a centimeter. And we want to go to inches. Do either one of those get us to inches? This one doesn't. That's meters. But this one will take us to inches. So we have 2.54 centimeters is 1 inch. My centimeters still cancel out because it's top and the bottom. So now I can multiply the top. I'll change my color so you can see. Multiply the top, 320 times 1. And then I'm just going to divide by what's on the bottom, the 2.54. And so I get 125.98, right? Something like that, inches. And again, don't worry too much about rounding to significant figures. Just try to get the answer. Okay. Let's do one more with our kind of train track set up, and I'm going to let you try some on your own. So we're starting with 3 days, and we're trying to get to seconds. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set on my line. I know I have days on the top. I have to have days on the bottom, right? And I'm trying to go smaller. I'm trying to go to seconds. So what is smaller than a day? That would be 24 hours. So 1 day is 24 hours, right? Now I have hours on the top. I need hours on the bottom. So, do I have it on here? Oh, it's not even on there. So 1 hour, right? How many, we can turn that into 60 minutes. So now my days have canceled, my hours have canceled. I'm at minutes, I need to go to seconds, right? So I know that if minutes are on the top, I need minutes on the bottom. I know 1 minute is 60 seconds. Now I'm in seconds, I'm ready to solve. So I'm going to multiply every number on the top. And then I can divide by every number on the bottom. And since every number is 1, if you type it in your calculator and you divide by 1, divide by 1, divide by 1, it's still going to be the same thing. So you get 259,200 seconds. All right, so what you're going to do next is there's a little website that's going to kind of help you practice setting up these problems and help you type, practice typing it in the calculator. So you'll have a chance to get used to setting up, what you see on the top has to go on the bottom. And then hopefully by then, you'll be comfortable setting them up. If you want to write down a few of the practice ones as you're setting them up so that you're getting more practice, that's fine. If you just want to put them into the website, that is fine as well.